Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to episode 2 of the podcasts. In this podcast, we will be talking about the legends and the beasts of the paranormal. This is the Paranormal Legends podcast. In this podcast, we'll be talking about the Beast of Bray Road, Jack the Ripper, the Mothman legend of West Virginia, and the Jersey Devil, and other creepiest ghost and monster stories from around the world. So let's get started with the Beast of Bray Road. This originates in Wisconsin. The Beast of Bray Road is a hairy humanoid with canine features. The Beast of Bray Road has been sighted in Wisconsin dating back to 1936 on a rural road outside Elkhorn, Wisconsin. More recent sightings in the 1980s and 1990s placed the creature in Racine, Walworth, and Jefferson counties. Those who have seen the beast describe him as eating or hunting / scavenging, also known as the man wolf, bear wolf, and the indigenous dog man. It is said to be around 6 feet tall with gray and brown fur. Its face resembles a wolf with shiny yellow eyes and pointed ears. Its body, though furry, looks like a muscular man. The creature is said to run and walk on all 4 of its legs or just its hind legs, and has been spied sitting on its haunches and kneeling like a man. Some people believe it is werewolves. Some others say that it is a Bigfoot. And some believe that it is a yet unidentified species. Though it has never attacked anyone, some witnesses claim that it has acted aggressively, running and jumping at them on their vehicles. Some researchers consider the Beast of Bray Roads to be identical to a kind of Wisconsin Bigfoot that locals call the Bluff Monster, which has often been spied in Minnesota. This werewolf-like creature has been portrayed regularly in the media since the first sightings, and even had a low-budget movie based on its legend. The number of sightings in the late 1900s and early 1990s prompted a local newspaper, the Walworth County Week, to assign reporter Linda Godfrey to cover the story. Like I said, in several ways, this is a bear-like creature resembling Bigfoot, and it unusually large, 2 to 4 feet tall on all 4, 7 feet tall standing up. An intelligent werewolf-like creature able to walk on its hind legs and weighing anywhere from 400 to 700 pounds. It's also said that its fur is a brown-gray color resembling a dog or bear. Some witnesses reported the beast made contacts with their vehicles, leaving long scratch marks on doors of vehicles and on the trunk, who also made contact of the creature. One witness, while driving on Bray Road on a foggy night, reported hitting something crossing the road, then exited the vehicle to determine what they had hit, and reported that a large wolf-like creature with red eyes chased her back into her car, then left claw marks in the rear passenger door. Sightings also have been reported during the daylight hours, with several witnesses stating they observed an unusual large-life creature running on all 4s through cornfields. So that's the Beast of Bray Road. Next, we're going to head to the Mothman legend of West Virginia. This is the Mothman. In November 1966, gravediggers working in a cemetery in Clendenin, West Virginia, spotted a strange man-like figure in the trees above their head. A few days later, two young couples from Point Pleasant reported being chased by a large creature with 10-foot wings whose eyes glowed red while driving near a former military site outside of town. Sightings of what area newspapers dubbed the Mothman continued throughout the next year, oftentimes leaving witnesses with a deep sense of dread. Many locals believed the Mothman lived in a vacant nuclear power plant outside of Point Pleasant, perhaps the escaped product of some secret government experiment. The sightings came to an abrupt halt in December of 1967. However, after a horrific tragedy in Point Pleasant, the Silver Bridge, which carried U.S. Route 35 over the Ohio River, collapsed on under the weight of heavy rush hour traffic, killing 46 people. Was it a coincidence or not? The fact that the collapse was later attributed to the faulty suspension chain did not stop conspiracy theories. In 1975, writer John Keel wrote a book titled The Mothman Prophecies, linking the bridge collapse with the Mothman sightings. In it, Keel suggested that the sightings were actually bad omens about the impending bridge collapse. And they have made several movies about this Mothman. And it says, the small town of Point Pleasant fully embraced its most famous resident, welcoming the annual Mothman Festival in 2002 by installing a 12-foot metallic statue of the creature in 2003 and opening the Mothman Museum and Research Center in 2005. But there is no way to truly determine what exactly haunted the skies of Point Pleasant in the mid-1960s. Some credit the sightings to the migration of sandhill cranes, while others believe that it was a large owl that wasn't native to the area. Though the sightings have decreased significantly since the 1960s, photos of the Mothman-like creature have been taken by multiple people. A man driving through Point Pleasant made headlines in 2016 as he spotted this Mothman. The Mothman has also been spotted in areas of Chicago in recent years, leading some to believe that he's relocated to the Windy City, or perhaps there is more than one Mothman in our midst. So that is the Mothman. Now we're going to head to probably one of the most famous people in the world. Most of y'all probably know Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper is arguably the most notorious serial killer of all time, and perhaps one of the most infamous cult figures in history. Scarcely does the mere mention of one name evoke such fear and imagery. The individual responsible for the horrifying and ghastly murders that were committed in the late 19th century in London remains unknown to this day. For over 125 years, professional and amateur sleuths alike have tried to piece together this unsolved mystery, yet no one has been able to definitively answer the questions: who and why. The legend of Jack the Ripper and his evil deeds is both terrifying and fascinating, and to this day, the gruesome series of the Whitechapel murders of 1888 endures as one of the most storied told stories of all time. The legend of Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper is a serial killer who lurked in the impoverished districts of London's East End in the autumn of 1888. The nickname was derived from a letter written at the time of the killings by someone who claimed to be the murderer. Although there have been many suspects in the case and theories have been discussed, the actual identity of the killer and the motives behind the grisly crimes are unknown even to this day. Jack the Ripper preyed upon unfortunates in the slums in and around Whitechapel, London. These were women who, due to extreme poverty, were driven to prostitution in order to sustain themselves. Most of his victims were women in their 40s, apart from young Mary Jane Kelly, who was only in her mid-20s at the time of her murder. It is unclear as to what fueled his savage bloodlust, but the murders all seem to be methodical and calculating. The precise number of Ripper's victims is not definite, but it is generally accepted that he killed 5 women, all of them being prostitutes. His victims' throats were cut, often followed by abdominal mutilations, including organ removal in some cases. Based on the precision of his cuts, it is assumed that by many that the Ripper had anatomical or surgical knowledge. Jack the Ripper, or also known as Leather Apron, as he was sometimes referred to, was bent on making a name for himself by leaving his grisly handiwork in plain sight. All of his victims were killed where they were found, most all of them horribly mutilated to varying degrees. The nature of the crimes and the Ripper's ability to escape the scene undetected made for quite the Victorian-era media frenzy. The Ripper had successfully cast a veil of terror over an entire city and achieved worldwide infamy by word of his devilish deeds. Although, I ain't gonna get into that. Let's see. Thousands of people were interviewed, hundreds were investigated, and almost nearly 80 people was detained during and after the time of the murders. The trail of the Ripper had been closely followed by multiple police forces, including Scotland Yard, as well as a citizen-formed vigilante committee. Along the highly suspect were butchers, slaughterers, surgeons, and physicians. This being due to their knowledge of anatomy. In the end, everyone interviewed provided sufficient answers, which is why no one was ever officially accused or convicted of the murders. Most of the evidence in the case of Jack the Ripper was lost over the years, along with many of the facts pertaining to the murders being more based upon opinion than anything else. The legend of Jack the Ripper is therefore a combination of historical evidence, documented research, and folklore. It is because of this that the story of the Ripper has become something much more than an unsolved series of crimes. Over the years, Jack the Ripper has become an almost supernatural figure and perhaps the most mystifying and enigmatic criminal of all time. That's Jack the Ripper. Next, we're going to the Jersey Devil. The legend of the New Jersey Devil. Most tellers of the legend of the Jersey Devil trace the devil back to Deborah Smith who immigrated from England in the 1700s to marry a Mr. Leeds. The Leeds family lived in the area of the New Jersey Pine Barrens, Leeds Point, Galloway Township in Atlantic County. Miss Leeds had given birth to 12 children and what was about to give birth to her 13th. The story goes that Mrs. Leeds invoked the devil during a very difficult and painful labor, and that when the baby was born, it either immediately or very soon afterwards, depending on the version of the story, grew into a full-grown devil and escaped from the house. Many people have reported seeing this child devil sighting, what was the result of that family's curse. People in the 1700s still believed in witchcraft, and many people of the period felt a deformed child was the sign of the child of the devil, or that the deformity was a sign that the child had been cursed by God. It may be that indeed Mrs. Leeds gave birth to a child with a birth defect and gave in the superstitions of the period. The legend of the Jersey Devil was born. In the last 200 years or so, there have been a number of sightings and the hearing of eerie noises, wails in the forest, which have been attributed to the Jersey Devil. But since these accounts are in the main generic descriptions, one is somewhat drawn to the conclusion that any number of weird things in southern Jersey are attributed to the Jersey Devil as a matter of course. Over the years, the Jersey Devil has been called by a number of names: Hootie Doodlebird, Wazzlebug, and the Leeds Devil. This is all not to say that people do not believe in the Jersey Devil, but many over the years have believed and reported sightings of the creature. Sightings included one in 1870 by a Long Beach fisherman who said he saw the Jersey Devil serenading a mermaid. The best known sightings, however, were in January of 1909 when Councilman E.P. Whedon of Trenton, New Jersey, claimed to have been awoken by flapping wings outside his bedroom window. The councilman said he found cloven footprints in the snow, and several other instances of similar footprints were reported in Trenton at the time. Hundreds, if not thousands, of other people also claimed to have seen the devil within a week or so of the councilman's sighting. And news of the multiple sightings were reported in local papers. The January 1909 sightings were not limited to New Jersey. There were reported sightings across the river in Pennsylvania and some sightings in Delaware as well. In 1978, two teenage boys were ice skating near Chatsworth in the Barrens and smelled an odor like dead fish and saw two red eyes staring at them. They didn't stay around to investigate, but claimed they had encountered the Jersey Devil. A number of people have claimed not to have seen the devil, but to have heard him rampaging through woods or emitting blood-curdling cries. People have found strange tracks and attributed them to the Jersey Devil. One instance of such tracks were reported along with loud shrieks near Mays Landing in 1960. Also in 1960, merchants in Camden offered a $10,000 reward for the capture of the Jersey Devil. They said they would build a private zoo to display the creature if anyone could capture it. Even to this day, that reward is still unclaimed. So that is the Jersey Devil. Now we're going to the creepiest ghost and monster stories from around the world. Hope you guys are ready for this, because this is going to get creepy. The first one is called the Night Demon. An evil creature stalks the Tanzanian island of Pemba in the Indian Ocean. It can change shape. A bat sometimes. It can change into a human-like form. It prefers to come out at night, but some say they have seen it during the day. The Papabwa, or batwing in Swahili, is indiscriminate in its targets, but in a common retelling, the spirit assaults men. Only dating back a few decades from the time of the civil unrest following the assassination of the country's president, the popular thinking goes that after a Papbawa attack, victims must spread the word to others on Pemba, otherwise they will continue to be visited by this creature. Reports of attacks send some locals into a panic. A few years ago, a series of nighttime assaults were blamed on this creature. Some men are staying awake or sleeping in groups outside of their home, the BBC reported in 2007. Others are smearing themselves with pig's oil, believing this repels the creature's attacks. A farmer named Majaka Hamid claims he was attacked by the creature in 1997. I couldn't see it. I could only feel it, but some people in my house could see it. Those who have got the spirits in their heads could see it. Everybody was terrified. They were outside screaming. It means the creature is there, of course. I had this bad pain in my ribs where it crushed me. I don't believe in spirits, so maybe that's why it attacked me. Maybe it will attack anybody who doesn't believe. Okay. The next one is called The Girl in the Bathroom. In Japan, the schools contain an infernal secret. If you go into the girls' bathroom on the 3rd floor of the building and walk to the 3rd stall, you might just find her. You have to knock 3 times and call her name. When you open the stall door, a little girl in a red skirt will be there. The little girl with the bob haircut is Hanako-san. She wants friends to play with, maybe, or perhaps she wants to drag you through the toilet. Depending on which part of Japan you live in, she may have a bloody hand and grab you, or be a lizard that devours you. Although I am getting scared just thinking about her right now. Yeah, you think? She has become a fixture of Japanese urban folklore over the last 70 years. The most popular origin story for the tale holds that during World War II, a schoolgirl was using the bathroom when a bomb fell on top of the building. The school collapsed on top of the girl, who has been trapped there ever since. But she isn't the only schoolgirl who haunts Japan's school bathroom. Kashima Reiko, another young girl, was said to have been cut in half by a train. Now her disfigured spirit inhabits bathrooms, asking children who enter the stalls where her legs are. The legend goes that if Kashima Reiko is not satisfied with their answer, she will rip their legs off. The next one is the woman of your worst dreams. In Brazil, a tall, skinny woman with long yellow fingernails and red eyes creeps along the rooftops and watches families inside of their homes. She watches them as they sit at the table for dinner. She watches them while they eat. After the meal, when someone goes to sleep on a full stomach, she will sneak into their bedroom. Then she sits on their chest so they cannot move. The creature that has attacked them watches them as they begin to panic. The victim's eyes partly open, but they are neither fully asleep or fully awake, helpless and trapped in a body that won't move. Here's a story. The earliest one I can remember is with my mother in the room, and she's sitting on the bed. Her face morphs into a demon-like thing, or a large, dark figure, kind of a human silhouette, emerging from the foot of my bed and staring down at me. Right. The last one I got for you today on this podcast, it's called The Weeping Woman. Her name was Maria. She lived in Mexico. She had long dark hair and a covetous heart. The man she loved would not have her, so she took her children in a fit of rage, took them down to the river and drowned them one by one. When the man she loved spurned her again, she realized what she had done. She took herself to the water and threw herself in to subject herself to the same fate as her children. But heaven would not have Maria, and she was condemned to wander the world in perpetual grief. She is also called La Llorona, the Wailing Woman. People who have seen her said they can hear her walking, soaking wet, wearing all white, and she can be heard crying out for the little ones she killed. Some say that she snatches other young children as she walks, mistaking them for her own young children she knew. Here's another story from someone. My earliest memory of her is being in the elementary school and being in the girls' bathroom, said Terry Martinez, who grew up in Texas in the Rio Grande Valley. She and the other young children would try to summon La Llorona in a bathroom mirror. The lights had to be out and the doors had to be closed. They'd splash water on the mirror and say her names 3 times. It was just seeing who could stand being in a dark room and seeing how long we could stand there waiting for her to come out of the sink. It usually ended with a bunch of little girls screaming and running out of the bathroom. So that is the story. And that's going to be it for today's podcast, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. And be sure to like and subscribe. Comment what type of podcast you'd love to see next. Comment if you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up. And I will catch you guys on the next one.